Let's do this. Good morning, and welcome to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold.
Oh, hell yes.
This is the show where we talk about everything.
What the hell?
Well, almost. From today's news, culture, entertainment, real life, real people, and the stories everybody's talking about. And no, we don't do it in some tiny glass bubble. We do it the only way we know how. Real and completely unleashed.
Fire the hole, fire the hole, fire the hole.
So lean in and let's go right now.
Give me a hell yeah. What?
The most dangerous person in any organization isn't a bad employee or even a troublemaker. It's the manager who watches all of this damage happen and then chooses to do nothing about it. Now, this is a manager who could do something about it. They could train, coach, correct, or they could even remove them, but they just bottle it and they decide to do nothing.
Good morning. It is Friday, July 24th, and the year, of course, is 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. And ladies and gentlemen, it is what we call Freedom Friday, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the deal. Every day, we still have freedom left in this country, at least for now, right? But we celebrate that every Friday with Freedom Friday. So good morning. Wake up. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be strong today. We're going to be straight to the point, unapologetic, uninhibited, and unleashed on a Friday morning. Is there anything going on? Yes, it is. There's a lot going on. Start out the show by giving you the text line. That's 601-918-8409, 601-918-8409. If you see this live stream, go ahead and share it. Right now it's on Facebook on 3 or 4 pages. It's also on the YouTube channel live at Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. And then, of course, the podcast will be available right after the show at all your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio in the mix now. And also DarylArnold.us, 2 R's, 2 L's in Daryl. You can choose your player, get involved in the conversation. Get involved in the conversation. We always have something great to talk about. We always want to thank our sponsors for this show. And we also want to let you know that locally as well, Rankin County, Hinds County, Madison County, 104.3 FM, The Pirate. We're live now as well on that. So join in. Good morning, Mel. Good morning to everybody that's up early on a Friday morning. I was just at Dunkin' Donut in Pearl, Mississippi, which also is one of our sponsors, Pearl, Mississippi. That's right, Dunkin' Donuts. Great folks over there. My favorite coffee, etc. Saw one of the guys that's working for Luke Bryan over there, already starting his day, as that concert's not till tonight, but already starting his day, working on things, getting things ready for that concert tonight at Brandon Amphitheater. So people start their day early, y'all. There's a lot that goes into different things. People wake up super early, and I'm one of them. But the cool thing is, if you can't catch the show live, you can always catch the podcast or just watch it back on Facebook. And again, also on YouTube live, each and every show. This one is Friday, July 24th, of course, and it is 2026. So let's get into it. But before we jump completely in wide open, Mobility Medical on Lakeland Drive. That's mobilitymedicalinc.com. Cypress Point Resort. That's cypresspointms.com and at Cypress Point MS on Facebook. Of course, Electrical Solutions and Services in Pearl, Mississippi. Check them out. Our friend Clayton Pale and that whole crew over there, veteran owned actually, will absolutely 100% take care of you every single time that you need it. And listen, they also focus on Generac generators. They focus on Tesla, all the things that they focus on now. Okay. Anyway, just checking on a couple of breaking stories. They break so fast now that they break on the way up here, before I can even get up here. Oh my goodness. The government's secret war against cash. The war on cash has been intensifying for the last couple of decades as we have wound up a unbelievable, unreachable, unfathomable amount of U.S. debt and a dying dollar. U.S. government and the Federal Reserve have worked tirelessly. They have worked tirelessly to make carrying cash risky and make it illegal to use cash in a manner that they deem, quote, improper, and a push through the central bank digital currency. Well, what can you do? How can you protect yourself? You want information? No money involved, just free information, no obligation. Get a copy of The Secret War on Cash. And that's it. It's a copy. It's a report. Doesn't cost you anything. Their phone number is 800-289-2646. Or you can simply go to SwissAmerica.com/unleashed. SwissAmerica.com/unleashed. These are real times. Why not get a report? No obligation. What else is going on this Friday? I'll tell you what's going on. A very lot is going on. Okay? A whole bunch is going on. And we're going to dive right into it. So, I don't know if y'all remember, and I'm quite sure you remember because everybody may not want to admit it, but they remember it. Back in April, there was a White House press dinner, and a gentleman came in with a long gun and a pistol gun to try to take out the president of the United States at a hotel at a White House press dinner. And since then, the Secret Service was interviewing, or they were being interviewed, a couple of them, in Congress. 10,000 threats, ladies and gentlemen. A 40% increase in threats against the president and others. 10,000. Let that sink in. That is a lot, you guys. It's never been like that in the history of this country. We have completely evil people out in this country now with completely really bad TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, and not just that. It is the outrageous hate for Christianity now. And honestly, the outrageous hate for ICE, who are doing nothing more than their jobs. That's all they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're doing their freaking jobs. Okay? But that's what's happening right now. President Trump is set to deliver remarks at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the same event that was cut short in April after an assassination attempt. The numbers are staggering. They're staggering. This is the same event that was cut short in April after the assassination attempt. Secret Service Director Sean Curran just revealed those staggering numbers that I gave you. The environment has become very volatile, very bitter, very bitter. We need to keep this president, or actually any human being, safe from this insane domestic terrorist. That's what needs to happen.
Again, after the annual event was cut short in April following an assassination attempt on the president's life. Today, Secret Service on high alert. There have already been 10,000 threats for the department since the new year, up 40% from last year. Director Sean Curran speaking with reporters ahead of tonight's event.
Are numbers at this agency, and certainly I have never seen in my 24-year career. They're off the charts. I think the environment has become very volatile, and that's just across the board. I think not just our protectees, but local officials. The threat, picture and environment is as large as I've ever seen it. Right now, we have an advance team there, and they will take back and they will set up a plan to set that site up for success.
So with us now is former Secret Service agent Tim Miller. Tim, 10,000 threats, up 40% in a year. How unprecedented is this?
It's remarkable. And let me give kudos to Director Curran and Deputy Director Quinn. They were spot on with encouraging how the Secret Service is moving forward. Because
that's a lot, though, you guys. That is a lot. And they went on to be encouraging on how they're moving forward with this. But really, in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, you can be encouraging all you want. You got to have enough bodies. You got to have enough people that are willing to take a bullet for somebody. You got to have enough people who are willing to not leak information, because there's all kind of leakers out there. J.D. Vance's team, who's the vice president of the United States of America, just had to let someone go on his team for leaking info. That's what happens. That's what happens. The quote, shadow government underneath the government. This used to be something that we used to maybe read about in a book. And now that the Trump administration has declassified all these documents from 2020 and all these documents from Kennedy and all these documents from UFOs and everything like that, we now know that there's 100% for sure a shadow government. Some of us have known for years. Okay. And now we also have literally self-proclaimed communists who are winning elections. Okay. That's serious. A lot of you people out there are busy working. We all have to do that. You're busy with life, the kids, soccer games, football games, baseball games, basketball, whatever it is. But we have literally now self-proclaimed communists who are winning elections, who are claiming to be the new actual leadership of the Democrat Party, I think the majority of Americans should understand the dangers of communism. But there's a lot of young people that do not understand that. They do not understand that at all. So please do me, you, everybody else in the country a favor and explain to them the dangers of communism, socialism, or just use Chat GPT, Google, explain to them. Okay? Explain that to them. Also explain that the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas are not, N-O-T, capital letters, charities. They're not charities, y'all. They're hiding behind fronts and NGOs and phony, big-time phony NGOs. Today, America just designated a senior UK-based MB official and the network moving money to Hamas. This is how you dismantle the infrastructure of jihad. No more hiding. No more hiding. The State Department, direct statement. Dismantling Muslim Brotherhood has Hamas and Hamas financial networks. Good. Good. A crucial step, a very crucial step, in my opinion, of confronting terrorism face to face is dismantling those financial networks. And that means all of them, the facilitators, the institutions, all of them that allow the extremist organizations to operate, which has us where we are today. Follow the money. It is the oldest saying in the book. Follow the money. Disrupt the networks and hold every enabler to that network accountable. Now, I know they're not going to be able to get everybody. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. But if you start taking out the top people in anything in life, you will slowly chip away until there's nothing left. That's a fact. And you got to go, we have to go with facts, y'all. Stephen SRS is in here this morning in the chat box. Russell McGee, Joe Davidson, America, the Trump man himself. We need to have you on, Joe, and tell your Trump story, which is incredible. Tina Posey, good morning. We need to have Joe Davidson on sometimes. Tell his Trump story. For all of the listeners on Unleashed and all the listeners out there, be fantastic. Connect the dots, though. And when we start connecting the dots back to these networks, these so-called now DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, and their organizations, Free Palestine, CARE, anyway, Movement, and many more, it's insane. The amount of money that's going to these Fruit Loops. It is insane. The amount of money that's going to Hamas for violence. And it's all for violence. And all of the innocent people are the ones that have to pay with their lives. The innocent people. Crazy, right? Yes. It is crazy. And of course, we're still dealing with the idiots in Maine, because Maine, it doesn't seem like a little bitty Maine is important in elections, but it is. You know, as Maine threw out their own primary, which was, Graham Plattner was their quote progressive champion. What a piece of, crap, that guy. Until, he was their champion, though, until he got busted out with sexual assault accusations and so on and so on. And then they literally just forced him out like they did Bernie Sanders against Hillary Clinton and so many others. And remember, they installed Kamala Harris. She was not voted in a primary. They installed her, made Joe Biden quit. Not saying he didn't need to, but instead of letting voters decide again, Maine Democrats are handling the nomination to party delegates. Of course they are. The expected replacement, of course, Troy Jackson. Oh, God. A 20-year legislator and hardcore progressive who literally backed Plattner even after the freaking scandals broke. Good Lord. His same platform is Medicare for all, tax the rich, tax the corporation, dismantle the system. And the primary voters already spoke once, y'all. Now the party is just installing the exact same version of the exact same candidate. Unbelievable. These people they have to be in power. They are slowly taking this country and turning it inside out for our kids, grandkids, and etc. And we cannot sit back and let this happen. We can't. We cannot sit back and let this happen. Because unfortunately, a lot of people are sitting back and letting it happen. They're sitting out elections. The weakest turnout will ruin the country. And you say, Daryl, that's up in Maine. It doesn't matter. These are Senate positions. They affect all of us. These are House positions where people vote on legislation federally. Not in hot coffee, Mississippi, federally. But federally affects hot coffee, Mississippi. Understand. It is a complete, and this is a whole nother conversation that we could do 2, 3, 4, 5 shows on. Understand, though, it is complete takeover of Islamic everything that they're trying to do in the United States, But it is a complete takeover already in England. Let's take England versus Saudi Arabia. England has 1,730 takeover mosques now. All of a sudden, bam. Weak leadership. Far left, England. Saudi Arabia, 0. Be more like Saudi Arabia, people. Be more like Saudi Arabia. And all you people out there that are young, socialism, I'm watching all you on TikTok. I'm watching all you on all these reels. Oh, I'll try it out. It's got to be better than what we got now. You are a lunatic. You did not learn anything. And that's not even your fault. It is the 40 or 50 years of the teachers union. It is the 40 or 50 years of the teachers drilling the far left liberal ideas into your head, not learning real history, only learning twisted history. That's what it really is. I hate that for you. For a while now, it's felt like the jihadists and communists we're going to win. But big things are starting to happen, hopefully. Can you feel it on a Friday? Can you feel it on a Freedom Friday? We have to stay positive, ladies and gentlemen. We have to. We gotta stay positive. And that's really the very long monologue that I had today. But whatever I'm saying is the way I'm feeling. I'm not saying that you all have to agree with me, but listen, we go with realistic here. We go with common sense. We go with common freaking sense. There is a big time lack of common sense in the country, and that's unfortunate. It really is. I mean, I don't like saying some of these things, but I have to. I have to, for the sake of the hat I'm wearing right now, freedom, for the sake of the children, the grandchildren, the young folks, the United States of America, the state, the city you live in, the county you live in, all of that. It's the top of the hour. My name is Daryl Arnold, Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold.
Power 104.3 FM.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
The Pirate.
Support for these programs comes from Electrical Solutions and Services in Pearl, Mississippi, providing licensed electrical contracting services throughout Mississippi for commercial, industrial, and residential projects. Also installations, system upgrades, troubleshooting, and emergency electrical repairs. As certified installers for Tesla, charging systems, and a certified dealer for Generac backup power solutions, their team delivers safe, code-compliant workmanship with a commitment to precision and integrity. They are veteran-owned. Their phone number is 769-572-7597.
Every program in the Next ecosystem is designed to meet people where they are and take them where they want to go, in technology and in life. Mississippi Coding Academies is a nonprofit that bridges the digital divide, delivering accessible, affordable, and life-changing technology education across the globe. Funded by grants and donations that are truly making an impact at home and abroad. Learn coding, cybersecurity, and so much more with locations around the state of Mississippi. Go to mscoding.org today and go to your next level.
The Mississippi Reunion Concert. Everyone has waited on, and we have it at Cameron's Garage. August 7th, Crossin' Dixon. This is the concert of the decades not to miss. Join us at Cameron's Garage for an evening of music. The Stevens Brothers Band will kick off the night at 5:30 p.m., followed by Crossin' Dixon at 8 p.m. Purchase your tickets in advance for $15 or at the door for $20 at cypresspointms.com. This will sell out. We cannot wait to see you there.
I've got Southern comfort running through my veins.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
All right, 7:02 a.m. Central Time. It is Friday, July 24, Freedom Friday around here, babe. Freedom Friday. Hashtag it, y'all. Thanks for joining us. The text line 601-918-8409. Also, you can jump in the chat. Feel free at YouTube or at Facebook because it's live streaming now. And then you can comment and all that as well on the podcast after the show, Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. And that's the and sign, by the way, not A-N-D. And it's Daryl, D-A-R-R-E-L-L. So please join us. We would love to have you. And thanks for the increase in listeners. Incredible. I mean, mind-blowing. Really mind-blowing. So with that being said, we just heard a spot regarding Crossin-Dixon, ladies and gentlemen, and the Stevens brothers. First of all, the Stevens brothers are blowing up. They're blowing up all through Florida, Southeast United States of America. They're on fire, okay? If you haven't seen the Stevens brothers, do yourself a favor, do it. And then Crossin-Dixon, one of the biggest bands in the area for years. It's been a decade or so ago. They're doing the big, huge reunion. Only a handful of shows. One of them is August 7th at Cameron's Garage, located in Cypress Point. Get that discount now. CypressPointMS.com. CypressPointMS.com. Grab a ticket. Or you may choose to enter at the door and pay an entry fee. It's up to you. Also, there may be one or two VIP tables left. If you go to CypressPointMS.com, check that out as well. This weekend over there, speaking of blowing up the Southeast, tonight, July 24th, is Logan Hogue Band. Logan Hogue also blowing up at all the colleges all through the South. Logan Hogue Band. That's Friday night. Tonight. You don't want to miss that. And Saturday night over at Cameron's Garage, also a very, very special, huge night with Steel Hollow. Speaking of blowing up, they're blowing up through the whole Southeast region. Steel Hollow, rocking you tomorrow night, Saturday night, July 25th. Both of these shows are located on the main stage at Cameron's Garage this weekend. Sunday, Cameron's Garage, about 5 p.m. or so. You come out, get your little line dancing lessons free. That team does an incredible job, and then the DJ continues to play your line dancing songs, and everybody has a blast. That's Sunday, July 26th. Come check it out. Let's get back into it. Let's get back into it, my friends. Oh, my God. Some of these people that are actually in our Congress or in our Senate or in D.C. or they're bureaucrats who were appointed, they're ridiculously, I still don't understand how they got their jobs. I really and truly don't. So crazy. And holy moly, Zoran the moron, okay, Zoran Memdani over in New York City, basically published, and this went viral, by the way, some nasty stuff online. And 2 days later, it resulted in blood. A man heeded Mandami's call and shouted, Allah Akbar, and stabbed 2 people outside a synagogue. Now, Mamdani didn't do it. But with that kind of talk and that kind of rhetoric and that kind of propaganda and that kind of horrible hatred against this guy, Mandami, okay, how do you not like a country and want to be the mayor? Well, you do that because you want to take over. That's what you do. It's a very important story right here. Even though it's in New York City, it's coming to your neighborhood and mine. Beware.
I just want to tell our viewers how this is being perceived within the Jewish community. New York City, of course, has the biggest Jewish community outside of Tel Aviv. Jewish New Yorkers saw him post a video targeting the Jewish state as uniquely evil, full of lies, just full of libels, garbage, nonsense. He said in that video that New Yorkers must pick up every tool they have to fight against Netanyahu and Israel. And guess what happened 2 days later? A man picked up a screwdriver and stabbed 2 people, including one Jew, coming out of a synagogue after prayer and shouted Allahu Akbar. He heeded the mayor's call. That video was not just a political mistake. It was a blood libel that has resulted in blood.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how you feel on, or excuse me, how you feel about Netanyahu or how you feel about Israel. That's not the point. It's not the point. Because they don't like any of us. It's not the point. But the deal is this, you know, and I know I'll get comments on here, you're a freaking Zionist, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not a Zionist. I just care about people's lives, okay? I care about people's lives. I do. But how much more screwery, for lack of a better word than I'm not saying, is New York City going to allow before they get rid of a mayor? They voted for this person. A lot of people say, well, good for them. They deserve it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do. But the people that might have to go visit there or have an emergency family member there or something like that, they don't deserve it. They do not. And for the people that, for logistic reasons, can't move away, they're stuck there, elderly people, they don't deserve it either. They do not deserve it. But here we are. The Obama Jr. Mandami in New York City causing division, freaking people out. This just like the circle back lady did that worked for Biden. It's just crazy. Yeah, last night I was sitting around, I was watching Elon Musk demolish a reporter to her face for calling him a far right person. And then he dared her to keep that part in the interview. Don't cut this out, he said. Kind of an absolute masterclass, if you ask me. But good for him. You know, I'm not going to obviously play the whole interview because it's, I don't know, half an hour or so. But good for him, okay? Good for him, Elon.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think is the normal person. Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One of the things that's quite funny is to like take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of you know, on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
I
Literally.
agree. No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted. Certainly, the Democratic Party shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert
Not
Lowe. I'm
fringe
talking
right,
about
please.
people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right
Those three?
fringe?
No,
And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me.
Good for Elon. Okay, good for him. He has all the money in the world. He doesn't need to talk to anybody. He doesn't need to do anything. But he's on the side of the American people. He's on the side of the American people. And he's right. The things that we talk about are normal. Quote, common sense. Quote, common sense. But they've hijacked the common sense people through social media and propaganda. A lot of it's paid for. Most of it, actually. The big propaganda is. He said, quote, the fact that 250 million with a B people follow me is that more people actually like me and don't think that I'm far right or whatever you're trying to say. And he goes, quote, I think a lot more people hate you and the media than me. Yeah, of course they do. Very cool. Very cool. Elon is awesome. I wish more of the quote far left. Because they used to love Elon Musk. He was the king for the lefties, the celebritards, the Holly weirdos, and etc. But no, once he started talking to Donald Trump, started talking about common sense issues, no, they hate him now. They hate him. Hate him, hate him, hate him. Crazy. Again, I talked about it the other day. Go back and listen. Wednesday, we talked about identity politics and group identity politics. It's very dangerous, y'all. Identity politics are very dangerous. They can be the most dangerous. They can be the most dangerous. But anyway, enough about the rant from the great jihadist Mandami Zoran the moron, who's a big fat a-hole. Big fat one. So I know I haven't talked about the big case in Mississippi. I think we're going to zoom in on that a bit Monday. I was letting all the other people that focus on Mississippi get their stories out and do their thing. But yeah, there was a lot of embarrassing the team that the family of, Nolan Wells and the Al Sharptons and the Benjamin and all those foolish racists coming down here. Just ridiculous. Okay? It's ridiculous. Good morning, Miss Cindy. But it's beyond ridiculous. It just, in fact, is beyond ridiculous. That's what happens, though. That's what happens when you involve race in everything you talk about. Grifters like Al Sharpton, all of them, they're nothing more than grifters. They just want to race bait. It's just all they want to do. Want to do anything else? Not at all. Yes, we're back at war. Somebody messaged me saying we are back. Yeah, after what, 13, 14 nights in a row, we're putting the pedal to the metal now. President Trump and the full administration, not just Trump, tried everything to make deals with terrorists. And that's exactly what they are. They're not going to do any deal. They're not going to. Yes, oil is over $100 a barrel. Yes, it sucks. But they're not going to do a deal, ladies and gentlemen. Now they're threatening all the other countries, and they're all getting ready because they know that Iran's not going to do a deal. They know. Here's Mark Rubio.
Do you rule out striking civilian? I think I saw, guys, I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price for the things they're doing. They're already paying a very heavy price. You guys don't know it because you don't cover it. You're not in Iran. You're not in the street. They don't have a free media. But they're going to continue to pay a very heavy price. Their industrial base has been decimated. Their defense industrial base has been decimated. They're losing launchers. They're losing radars every single night. They are suffering billions of dollars in damage, and their economy is a disaster.
You don't.
That's it. And the economy is a disaster. Of course it is. Of course it is. And they're losing, what, 100, 200, 400 million dollars a day on oil and all that. These people don't care. Because the terrorist groups took over the country many decades ago, which is what would happen here under communism. May take a while, but it would, of course. It definitely 100% would. The joke of the quote USA Today, I didn't even know people read that anymore. The USA Today newspaper / USA Today online platform compared Caitlin Clark to the lynching of Emmett Till. A sports columnist argued that Caitlin Clark's complaints about getting hammered on the court are somehow, quote, dangerous because of the history of white women being used to harm black people. What? I mean, these people are foolish. Propaganda BS. She even dragged Emmett Till into it, noting that, quote, the WNBA All-Star game in Chicago, Till's hometown. After the obvious backlash, she has issued a partial, because you know how these people do, and nobody reads the retractions. They only read the headlines, and anybody in the news business knows they can put those fake lies, because that's what they are, lies or either propaganda. They can put it up, and then when they do the, quote, apology, it's some little retraction that nobody ever sees. So she did issue a partial apology saying, I made an inartful, give me a break, comparison, however the point stands. In other words, sorry for the comparison, but I'm still saying it. Whatever. the absurdity of this. The absurdity. Caitlin Clark is one of the ones that is constantly getting body checked and fouled hard, turning that into a, quote, racial morality play about Emmett Till. That is absolutely not journalism. Of course it's not. It's not journalism. None of this is journalism anymore. MS Cow Now, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of it. Activist media. It's activist media. Division media. That's what it is. Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, National Enquirer, TMZ. It's just like that now. And it's also why that sports media, including Ryan Clark over at ESPN, they dumped him this week. But this is why that the sports media and the trust in sports media is collapsing. It's the very reason it's collapsing. Because it is nothing more than activist media now. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's, because if you really think about that quote, USA Today, which, again, I don't even know who reads that junk. It's just disgusting article. That's all it is. That's all it is. I see a lot of people commenting on this story, saying that the league needs to apologize, that the USA Today needs to be sued. But really, how many people read the USA Today? How many people do? Anyway, again, that headline, though, for all the people out there listening, USA Today compared Caitlin Clark to the lynching of Emmett Till. A quote, sports columnist. I would love to see her credentials. I would love to see it. She even dragged Emmett Till's name in it. These people are grifters. Very much so. They shouldn't be suing USA Today. They should start suing the people that work for these companies. The fake journalist, the activist journalist. Take their money away. Not going to do any good to sue USA Today. They have money. They'll just settle. No, take the actual journalist money away. Or fire them. I mean, that's easy. Or just fire them. Does it happen? Of course it does. As it should in some cases. I totally believe in freedom of speech, and you should be able to say whatever you want to. But there's a big difference in freedom of speech and, quote, hate speech and, quote, you know what, garbage. Garbage. You have to weigh out the options, too. How strong is your voice? I don't know that lady's voice is strong at all. But what's that doing for the young kids that may be listening or reading, if anybody reads the USA Today? What does that do? So we have to think about those things when we turn this microphone on, okay? We have to. You may not agree with me, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with me. But common sense common sense is fading away. Fading away. And I won't stop talking about it.
If you or a loved one need reliable medical equipment, trust a name Mississippi has depended on for over 20 years. Mobility Medical, located right in Flowood, is your local family-owned source for mobility and home healthcare solutions. From power wheelchairs and scooters to lift chairs that help you relax in comfort, they've got everything you need to stay independent and live better every day. Need help at home? Mobility Medical offers hospital beds, tables, and essential supplies, and more. What sets them apart? It's their personalized service. Their experienced team works one-on-one with you to find the right equipment. Serving all of Mississippi and beyond with in-store support and delivery options available. Mobility Medical, helping you move better, live better, and stay independent. Visit them today in Flowood or call to learn more.
Don't forget to check out Cypress Point Resort. Memories are made at Cypress Point. Close to home, yet it feels miles away. At Cypress Point, you can truly get away from it all. You can step back to a simpler time, yet enjoy all the amenities of today. Cameron's Garage is a sports bar and music venue. There's a lunch buffet every day inside Cypress Point. They also have a steakhouse and the Tavern. The Tavern is a quaint little place with live music Wednesday through Saturday. And of course, you've got the Safari Park and Petting Zoo. Don't forget about all the event halls, including the Wedding Chapel and so much more. That's Cypress Point Resort, located at 874 Hollybush Road, Brandon, Mississippi. Contact them at 601-829-1101 or at cypresspointms.com.
WPBP and PMB TV would like to thank our latest sponsor, Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is located at 403 Riverwind Drive. With over 32 different types of donuts, they can take care of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can now choose from their menu of sandwiches, wraps, and muffins. And don't forget the drinks. Along with coffee, espressos, and lattes for your morning drive, they also have soft drinks, cold brew coffees, and smoothies. The Pearl Pirates run on Dunkin' Donuts.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
Bottom of the hour. Time flies when you're having fun, and when we're on a Freedom Friday, July 24th, 2026. My name is Daryl Arnold, and we were talking about the grifters. There's a lot of grifters out there that are just doing exactly that. You know, we could make an excuse for all of them, but that's all they're doing. Including, quote, far-right foolishness. You know, there's a lot of that, too. There's, in fact, a lot of that as well. But people are wising up. People are wising up. And yes, it's about time that people are wising up. Anyway, but the incredible strikes that have started happening overnight, this last night, going into this weekend, against Iran, who's lying and saying that they're winning, which, you know, there is no media allowed there. So what you're listening to is Iran State TV, which is propaganda and lies. We've even seen them announcing things and getting blown up while the reporter or while the so-called news desk was announcing it, and it gets bombed while she's mid-sentence. So you can't believe the radical DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, and you can't believe the radical Islamists, and you can't believe the Iran radical media, state-ran media TV. But you want socialism, and that's what we'll get here. State-ran TV, state-ran media. How's that going to work out for your little TikTok crap you do? Yeah, it's not going to work out. That's how. It's not going to work out at all. And you're going to be out of luck. Okay? You're going to be out of luck. But whatever, that's what you're asking for, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're asking for. I'm not saying that all of you are, because people with common sense know better. Trump unlocking, okay? Trump unlocking American heritage. That's the name of this piece that I'm going to play here. I always enjoy this lady. I think she does an extremely good job of history, but not fake history. You know, she gets it right. She's an older lady. She understands history. She studied history. She's older. She gets it.
Of America's own unique economic system has been written out of our history. In 1901, 125 years ago, exactly halfway between 1776 and today, President William McKinley was assassinated. Now, you've heard President Trump talk about McKinley's tariffs and how they made the nation so prosperous that a commission had to be set up to figure out how to spend the extra revenues. McKinley was the last president who openly embraced and acted on the American system. He continued Alexander Hamilton's policies of tariffs, protecting American industry, and fostering internal improvements to develop the nation. And he was also in the tradition of Abraham Lincoln, who was a champion of producers, manufacturers, and especially the working class. McKinley's assassination in 1901 marked a turning point, because it wasn't just McKinley who was eliminated. The knowledge of the American system itself and the fact that its mortal enemy was the British system was erased and replaced by debates over big government or little government or Keynes versus Friedman. So let's go back for a moment to Abraham Lincoln's economic advisor and one of the champions of the American system, Henry Carey. In a work called The Harmony of Interests, Carey said that there are two systems before the world. One looks to pauperism, ignorance, depopulation, and barbarism. The other to increasing wealth, comfort, intelligence, combination of action, and civilization. One looks toward universal war, the other to universal peace. One is the English system, the other we may be proud to call the American system. Now, let Carey's words sink in. One system produces wealth, intelligence, and civilization. The other produces pauperism, ignorance, and war. That is not ancient history. Pauperism, depopulation, and war describe the policies of today's World Economic Forum. But our side of the fight and the American economic principles which will allow us to prevail have been suppressed for 125 years.
Think about that. Think about that. Rewind. Watch it later. Let all that sink in. Let it sink in. Anyway, she does a fantastic job. You may have seen her on social media platforms. Always get just a touch of knowledge listening back to her. She's always very knowledgeable, and quite frankly, watching and learning history is the key to more common sense. The people before us. Yes, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened, but there was a lot of great stuff that happened that brought us where we are today on this Freedom Friday and every day with freedom. Okay? And now we have people like the American Bar Association and the American openly, okay, not secretly, but openly deciding who gets into law school based on race, not academics. This is unheard of, y'all. The ABA, American Bar Association, endorsed affirmative action in the 60s. In 1980, the ABA adopted a standard requiring law schools to provide full opportunities to ethnic minorities. The ABA constantly files with the briefs with the Supreme Court defending, quote, race-based admissions policies in all higher education cases. And they're asked this directly from Brandon Gill, who does a great job always up in D.C. on the Hill. He calls these people out, but all he does is ask them direct questions. That's all.
For you, you ought to be able to answer this in a very straightforward way. Let me just ask you, in your own personal capacity, should race be a factor in law school admissions decisions? The question is a yes or no question.
I am here in my
Yes
capacity.
or no, should race be a factor in law school admissions
I
decisions?
am here in my capacity.
Because according to the ABA, it should. The ABA has said explicitly that they have a long history of supporting consideration of race in law school admissions. Is that your testimony, that law schools should continue taking into account race?
The Supreme Court indicated that diversity is a laudable goal, and the ABA supports diversity in all of.
The American Bar Association does have a long history of supporting race-based admissions, and here's that history. So in the 1960s, they supported affirmative action, and then in the 1980s, they actually created a standard that evolved into a different standard that said that law schools just had to have an action plan to allow minorities into their schools. And then they continuously file briefs with the Supreme Court that supports race-based admissions. So this wouldn't be a problem if all students had the same scores and they were just saying that Black people and Mexican people can't get into these schools, but that's not what's happening here. So what happens here is they had to lower the standards for Black and minorities to be able to get into these law schools. That's why people are upset. Do Black and minorities get into law schools with lower scores? And according to this, race-conscious admission policies that the ABA supports means that Black applicants and Hispanic applicants routinely get admitted into schools with substantially lower average scores. So,
Again, these large institutions, educational, usually education institution, colleges, etc., professors, they're all far left liberals. They all blame everything. Everything is a blame game to them. Why they can't go here, why they can't do this. But in fact, they actually can. Okay? It's propaganda because they can. Anybody can do the same thing that I do. Anybody can do the same thing that you do. And you can also do anything in this country that you set your mind to do. Why? Because it's a free country. That's why. So the ridiculousness of people saying all these nonsense statements for attention, that's really what it is. Attention is unreal. It's unreal. It's unreal. And we live in an attention-based culture, country, and world now. That's where we live. We live 2 minutes by 2 minutes on TikTok or any other social media platform. That's where we live. There are states out there right now, right this very second, as we're speaking today, who are refusing to hand over the voter rolls and facilitating non-citizen voting in the federal elections. Right now. Today.
Take this fight to the Supreme Court?
Well, we do. It's actually closer to 30 states. 20 states have given us their voter rolls voluntarily, and we've found hundreds of thousands of people on those voter rolls who shouldn't have been there. Now, since the governor made this announcement, we've opened up an investigation. We asked her to disclose to us the names of the 6,600 individuals who were wrongfully put on the voter rolls, and then the 400 who voted knowing that they weren't entitled to. And today she hasn't responded to us yet, but she did tell the New York Times and others in New Jersey that she wasn't going to give us that information because, quote unquote, we would weaponize it and she doesn't trust us with the data. Well, who can't be trusted with data, Governor Cheryl? It seems like it's actually New Jersey because these people said they weren't entitled to vote, and then you put them on the voter rolls in your state, blaming the vendor, calling it a glitch, et cetera. It is the job of the election officials, not some data vendor, to determine citizenship when they put people on the voter rolls. That's federal law. And it also sounds like, Liz, the state allowed these people to stay on the voter rolls for more than a year after they knew that they weren't legally entitled. That is a violation of federal law, too.
Yeah, see, that's New Jersey, one of the states that are refusing to hand over the voter rolls. Now, the governor of New Jersey, of course, a Democrat, she did finally come out and say, "Oh, I'm startled. I'm shocked. We had over 6,000 non-citizens on voting." Yeah. But now she's still refusing to turn them over because it's, quote, the, quote, Trump administration looking into it. Lady, shut up. Do your job. Do your job. That's just the truth. Do your job. That is part of your job. Run your state. Okay, run your state. The messaging over at the White House is not a problem. It's the anti-American propaganda out there coming from the media, which are liberals, far left lunatics. That is the problem. Everyone says Trump needs to work on the messaging. They don't play his messaging. And if they do, they twist his messaging and turn it into the negative. They do. But I agree with him when it comes down to the communities and the way communism is trying to take over. The DSA platform is ahead of the midterms. Are people really bought into this? I mean, unfortunately, the polls show that especially young people are overwhelmingly bought into the Democrat Socialist of America BS.
Communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now, because these people, they don't act. I'm very happy a poll came out. It said they're highly educated, but doing very poorly. In other words, they're losers. They went to school, they got a good education. Now they don't know what they're doing. So what they do is they complain about people like yourselves that have done so well. But we can't let the communist ideology we don't want to even think about it for this country. It would be terrible.
This is pretty interesting. A New York City Black Democrat leader is criticizing the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA, calls that group a bunch of white supremacists. Queens Borough President Donovan Richards comparing New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's pals in the DSA to white supremacists. So think about that. He breaks this on social media. He says white supremacy comes in all forms, and targeting this at the DSA.
It's very interesting. The comment originating from an online debate after a report in the New York Times highlighted how the extreme left wing of the Democrat Party focuses on furthering the group's agenda and largely has blinders on when it comes to Black and Latino members and issues important to them in the 5 boroughs. So Richards followed up with that post with another one quoting Malcolm X, comparing white conservatives to white liberals. The quote stating white liberals are more dangerous. So joining.
Crazy. Getting it backwards, ladies and gentlemen. These people are getting it backwards. History will show. History is showing up now. We don't need to go backwards, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to go backwards. We need to fight for the freedom of the country. We do that by showing up to vote. We do that by showing up for your local supervisor meetings, your local community meetings, your local neighborhood meetings. Involvement, understanding your community, understanding what's happening in your community, understand who's, quote, running for offices in your, hell, run yourself. I think everybody should run. We'll be right back, y'all, for our last segment, Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold.
Every program in the Next ecosystem is designed to meet people where they are and take them where they want to go, in technology and in life. Mississippi Coding Academies is a nonprofit that bridges the digital divide, delivering accessible, affordable, and life-changing technology education across the globe. Funded by grants and donations that are truly making an impact at home and abroad. Learn coding, cybersecurity, and so much more with locations around the state of Mississippi. Go to mscoding.org today and go to your next level.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m. and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Visit msema.org and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Support for these programs comes from Electrical Solutions and Services in Pearl, Mississippi, providing licensed electrical contracting services throughout Mississippi for commercial, industrial, and residential projects. Also installations, system upgrades, troubleshooting, and emergency electrical repairs. As certified installers for Tesla, charging systems, and a certified dealer for Generac backup power solutions, their team delivers safe, code-compliant workmanship with a commitment to precision and integrity. They are veteran-owned. Their phone number is 769-572-7597.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
Welcome back to the last segment of the show. It is Friday, July 24th, 2026. My name is Daryl Arnold. Look, I've combined all of my links to listen to the podcast at darylarnold.us, DARRELL, darylarnold.us. It's got your YouTube player there for it, the live feed or listen back feature. And then all the podcast platforms are available there too. You can click on Podbean, Apple, Spotify, many, many more. And then iHeartRadio, as we were picked up by iHeartRadio, and it is the direct link to the show is on iHeartRadio as well. And all you have to do is click on the red one that says iHeartRadio, and it brings you right to the latest episode always. So We appreciate that. We appreciate all our sponsors, but definitely we really, really thank all of you dedicated listeners out there on this Freedom Friday. So let us know. Let us know what's happening in your lives and in your opinions. Okay? In your opinions. So Iran was sanctioned. We talked about this earlier. So what they did was just go and build a secret banking system. That's what they did. To fund Hamas, Hezbollah, and the ballistic missiles anyway. And the United States Treasury Department just proved it, finally. Many presidents before Donald Trump could have proved it. Okay? Going back to Barack Hussein Obama, the worst president in history for division. But anyway, they built a secret banking system to fund Hezbollah and the ballistic missiles. Anyway, that's what they did, even after they were sanctioned. And many people are involved in that. Okay, many people. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, but it's true. And it's busted wide open right now.
Sanctioned. They left out the most important part. The U.S. Treasury just dropped a bomb, and mainstream media, well, they barely covered it. 35 entities sanctioned for running Iran's secret shadow banking network. Here's how it works. Iran is banned from the global financial system, so they built their own. They created private companies called Rabars that manage thousands of shell companies across the world. In the UAE, in Hong Kong, in Britain, quietly moving money, quietly buying missile components, quietly funding terror. One company in the UK, Shakun Limited, transferred over $70 million for Iranian oil sales last year in Britain. Iran's state oil company, their military, the IRGC, all using this network to get paid, rearm, and funnel cash directly to Hamas and Hezbollah. And here's what they don't want you to connect. Iran's military bank, Bank Sepah, was financing their ballistic missile program through this exact network. The supreme leader's own bank had its own shell company operation running alongside it. Since February 2025 alone, the U.S. has sanctioned nearly 1,000 Iran-linked people, ships, and aircraft. 1,000. Israel has been saying this for years. Iran doesn't fund terror with cash in a briefcase. They fund it with a sophisticated global parallel banking system designed specifically to deceive the world. This is the U.S. Treasury. Now you know.
Now you know. Now you know. The amount of countries, people, corporations, hidden corporations, hidden LLCs, offshore accounts, so on, that are involved in funding terrorists. They're funding terrorists who want to kill them, you, me, and everyone else. That's, that's not only crazy, that's completely evil. Let's just be honest. That's not crazy. That is evil. That is evil. Unbelievably evil. There's a congresswoman going off on a reporter for asking questions about documents that have been declassified about 280,000 illegals voting in our election. Democrats They don't want anybody figuring this out. They just don't. They will lie about anything.
Allison Steinberg with Lindell TV. Last time I spoke to you, it was right before Trump's announcement on election interference. You said there was nothing to see, but it's now come out that there was over 280,000 non-citizens on the voter rolls. Does that concern you at all? Does that concern you at all?
That's laughable. That's all I'm going to say about that.
These are declassified documents.
That's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
Because it's impossibly wrong and absolutely fake news, and you're irresponsible for reporting those kinds of fake stories to the American people.
It's not fake. These documents are real. You think they're just made up? They're just fake documents?
Let me tell you this. If you can name my name, I will answer your question. Who am I?
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
All right, what's your question?
My question is, you told me there was nothing to see regarding the
These are
election
fake
interference
documents.
announcement.
All of them.
280,000 illegals are on the voter rolls.
Can you point to me one? Can you
It's
find
all
me
on the
10?
website.
Can you find me 20? Can you find me 100? Can you find me 1,000? Can you find me anybody? This is All
They're
right,
all
then
on the
let's
House
meet.
website.
Let's meet, and
All right, I would be happy to.
We'll find those people
They're
together.
all on the website. It's all
I
declassified
spend
information.
every day, all day, looking at classified documents. Every day, all day. The president's speech was laughable with its inaccuracies and with its falsehoods. And you're propagating this myth to the American people, which is nothing but destructive to the American way of life. And you should feel embarrassed.
And on that note, if you want to follow up, you can reach her.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these people are losers. These people are losers. Speaking of losers, I put this up on my, I believe Facebook, one of the social medias last night, yesterday afternoon. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins show. So the Senate, they haven't passed the SAVE Act, the Save America Act. They haven't passed any of that. But yet they're going to go to recess August. Well, August is like next week. So they're going to go to recess without passing the Save America Act. You need to call every one of your senators. I watched Glenn Beck live on his show calling John Thune's office over and over. Of course, he never got a response at all. But they were too busy yesterday trying to pass Senate regarding the Iran war, but they couldn't do anything about the Save America Act. I feel like Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins on this. That's why I put up their sound bag, because it's like, Jesus, what the?
Jeez. Interesting. President Trump says he's losing patience with Senate Republicans who aren't working on the SAVE Act. The House has meanwhile passed a symbolic resolution telling Trump to stop the war in Iran. The Senate is taking up a similar measure today instead of passing voter ID. Great job, everybody. All right. Nationwide.
Jeez. Yeah. We all know, though, expect not to be voted back in. All you senators out there, expect it. Expect it. Be ready for it. Now, let's be positive this weekend. Let's have fun. It's Freedom Friday. Let's spend some quality time with families. It's going to be a hot one again this weekend, temperature-wise. Be safe out there, and remember, DarylArnold.us gets you to all podcasts, DarylArnold.us. And my name is, in fact, Daryl Arnold at Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. So have a great weekend. See ya.
Thank you all for tuning in. Hashtag unfiltered, hashtag unapologetic, America First Talk at its best, where we party the right way. See you next time, or else.